Welcome. If you're a focused learner looking to literally master the mechanics of language, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're taking a super fascinating look at sentence structure. We're drawing directly from classical Hindi grammar rules, but translating them into English so we can really analyze the pure underlying logic. I want you to think of grammar not as some boring set of textbook rules, but as the actual architectural blueprints for your thoughts. Every single time you speak or write, you are literally building something. And in this explainer, we're going to look at the three main structural blueprints you can use to build those thoughts, straight from our source materials. So grab your hard hats and let's get building. Here is our blueprint for today. First, the three types of sentences. Second, connectors. Third, transforming simple to complex. And finally, reverse transformations. All right, kicking things off with section 1, the three types of sentence structure. Let's start with the absolute foundation, the simple sentence known in our source text as Saral Vakya. Think of the simple sentence as your raw brick. It's a solid single unit. Grammatically speaking, it consists of just one main subject and one main action, or verb. Now, don't let the word simple trick you into thinking these have to be super short. A simple sentence can actually be quite long and descriptive, but at its core, it only ever contains one primary action. For instance, our source text uses this illustration. People formed groups and started roaming in the field. Even though it feels like a lot is happening there, structurally it functions as one independent, continuous action driven by a single subject. Next up, we step up to the compound sentence, or Sanyukta Vakya. If the simple sentence is a single brick house, the compound sentence is basically two completely independent houses joined together by a really sturdy bridge. The absolute key takeaway here is independence. You've got two or more separate clauses, and neither house needs the other one to stand up. If you just demolish the bridge between them, both sentences would still make perfect sense on their own. Take this example. I waited for him, but he did not come. Those are two perfectly complete thoughts just standing side by side. Finally, we have the complex sentence, or Mishra Vakya. Now, I want you to contrast this with the compound structure we just looked at. Instead of two independent houses, picture a massive main house with an attached, much smaller guest house. That guest house, it absolutely cannot stand on its own. It has to share electricity and plumbing with the main house. In grammar terms, this means you have one main independent clause and one or more dependent clauses that completely rely on that main one to make any sense. For example, I will eat the food that my father has eaten. The phrase, that my father has eaten, cannot stand alone. It is completely dependent on the main thought to function. Moving right along to section 2, connectors, the bridge of sentences. Okay, you're going to want to take a mental screenshot here, because these are your grammatical cheat codes. These coordinating conjunctions are the literal accessories you need to build a compound sentence. We're talking about words like and, or, therefore, and but. When you spot these words, you are almost always looking at a bridge between two equal, independent thoughts. Our source text highlights these as the critical markers for a Sanyukt Vakya. They don't make either side dependent, they just hold hands right in the middle. And on the flip side, this brilliantly illustrates our complex connectors, known as subordinating conjunctions. If those previous words were bridges, these words are hinges. They attach your dependent clauses super tightly to your main thought. Think words like if, that, then, who, and because. The second you use one of these words, you are instantly turning a thought into a dependent guest house. If you walk up to someone and just say, because it was raining, you're leaving them hanging, right? We need the main house to finish the thought. Understanding this exact difference between dependent hinges and independent bridges is the ultimate key to mastering sentence transformations. All right, let's get practical with section 3, simple to compound and complex. Let's actually test what we've learned so far. Imagine you're handed this simple sentence. Due to not working hard, he failed. It's one thought, one structural unit. I'm going to pause for just a second. How would you completely remodel this into a compound sentence, meaning two independent houses, using the cheat codes we just went over? Let's look at the solution. We basically take our simple brick and transform it by splitting that single action into two entirely independent clauses, and we join them with the word and. He didn't work hard is a complete sentence. He failed is a complete sentence. We just used and as our sturdy bridge. It's simple, it's highly logical, and structurally, it's perfectly sound. Let's try another one. Notice how elegantly we can split a single journey into two totally distinct actions. We start with a simple thought combining traveling and listening, but we want to demand separation.
So we create independent clause number 1, I will go to the temple. And then independent clause number 2, I will also listen to hymns. We link them right up with our sturdy bridge and.
Now let's grab a totally different blueprint and upgrade a simple sentence into a complex structure. Starting with, courageous people do not panic in crises. We need to build that main house and a dependent guest house. Check out the transformed version. Whoever is courageous, boom, that's our dependent clause hanging on a hinge. They do not panic in crises, which is our main independent thought. By introducing who or whoever, we've created a dependency that beautifully matches the Mishra Vakya rules straight from our text. Section 4, transforming complex and compound. Let's do some reverse engineering. Observe how we can entirely remove a dependent condition and just replace it with a firm, independent bridge. If we start with the phrase as soon as, which makes the first half completely reliant on the second half to resolve the timing, we have to strip away that dependency if we want to turn it into a compound sentence. So we just state fact 1, the examiner distributed papers. We state fact 2, the students started writing, and we connect them with our trusty coordinating conjunction and. Now this one is a classic exam favorite. It perfectly shows how a condition transforms into a cause and effect structure. The word if makes the original sentence highly dependent. To make it compound, we state the desire as a standalone fact. You want medicine. Then, we bust out a new bridge word from our cheat sheet, therefore, to link it directly to the next independent command, get in line. It is incredibly satisfying once you start seeing the underlying math of the grammar, isn't it? Looking directly at our source material here, mastering these few rules really allows you to decode just about any textbook exercise. What might normally look like a daunting, huge wall of foreign text or complicated grammar rules is actually just a very organized list of blueprints. It outlines the simple, compound, and complex definitions we just discussed, followed by the exact transformations we've been practicing together. And here is the second page of our source data showing those advanced transformations. The big secret here? By treating these transformations as logical blueprints rather than just endless lists of things to blindly memorize, you unlock the entire grammar system. You literally don't have to memorize 100 different sentences. You just need to know how to identify the bricks, the bridges, and the hinges. Once you have that locked in, you can build or dismantle absolutely any sentence placed in front of you. So, I want to leave you with a quick challenge. Take a look at your emails, read a news article, or literally just listen to your own thoughts today. Can you take a basic, simple sentence you encounter and mentally rebuild it into a compound and then a complex structure? Try looking at every sentence you read today as a piece of architecture just waiting to be remodeled. Language really isn't just something we passively consume. It's a structural puzzle we get to actively build. Keep practicing your structural transformations, and I promise you'll find your own communication becoming clearer, stronger, and way more dynamic. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.